Hello and welcome back. It's nice to talk to everyone again. And today I will be talking about TLRY in a little bit more deeper depth of why I like it and how I do my investments. So I do not pick companies to day trade in. I pick companies for long holds, a minimum of 1 to 1+ years. When I'm picking companies because I see that they're below their normal value and they have a lot of life left in them. So when I see a company below its value with a lot of life, and then I jump into it. I also enjoy a couple high interest volatile ETFs that give me a high dividend ratio, but would not be wise to hold if you're worrying about the stock price. So you have to balance things out depending on what you're trying to achieve. With that said, understand your own investment strategy and what your own risk level is. Now with TLRY, why I like TLRY, and I'll show you here in a few seconds. So the primary reason is it has 29% of the company is a beverage company with over almost $300 million in revenues. It's right under 300 million. I think it's like 281. So I just rounded up. With that said, that gives it a foundation to sustain itself as a business if it needs to. I don't view TLRY anymore as a cannabis company, but more as a holding company, because it is now trying to go into the stack business, the beverage business, as well as the cannabis industry with pharmaceuticals and recreational use. So when I look at TLRY, I can't see it as just a cannabis company anymore. It's no longer its primary focus. TLRY is a holding company of multiple different companies and assets with different avenues of revenue and growth. Now, what everyone keeps missing and misunderstanding is that everyone's thinking the stock price should go up higher once the government in the United States turns around and says or reduces the regulations around cannabis. And this is the lie here. That stock price right now should be higher. It's attacking the EU marketplace, which is almost the same size as the United States in economics. So if it can't get into the US because of regulations, the EU is equivalent to the United States. That means that people should be taking more attention, paying more attention, and should give it the same value as if it was attacking the United States marketplace. But they're not, because of most people, we have this perception that, oh, the EU, Europe, oh, they're not like the United States. That's a lie. They have the same buying power as the United States. So when we talk about Europe, the EU, it's a collection of countries, or we can call it a collection of states that have bound together, like the United States. The United States is a collection of states or independent countries that have bound together as one. Let's understand this. So when we look at the EU as a total buying block, it has great buying power. Right now, Tilray has gotten into 3 countries within the EU, which is indicating that over the next few years, they should be able to gain into that should give them traction to get into more countries within the EU or Europe. Now, with that said, that will bring their total revenues even higher for their cannabis section, their cannabis industry. With this said, most of their sales aren't even in the United States. It's in other parts of the world between their beverages and their cannabis sales. So why does this excite me? Well, when we think about this, if they're in other parts of the world making money without the United States, that means that it can sustain and stand on its own 2 legs without needing the consumer dollar from the United States. This is a major plus, and people don't realize this. Most companies are trying to sell into the United States to sustain, or succeed. This company has figured it out without needing the United States buying power to sustain or succeed. This is a important understanding of basic fundamentals. Now, how else I look at Tilray to see where the stock price should lie. And let me share my screen here with you. Now, I went into Gemini and I'm asking it basic mathematical equations that I wanted to know. So Gemini tries to educate you about companies, and I didn't want to be educated. I just wanted the math. And so I was asking it the math of what portion of its business is from the beverage industry, and what does that beverage industry look like as far as market cap, because of the evaluation of the stock comes off of its market cap and how many shares are out there and its actual total revenues now today. So I want to know what is its really potential market cap, because of the market cap evaluation that it's currently at doesn't add up to me. It's not accounting for its 29% owner of the beverage industry, or 29%, ownership is in that company. So 29% of Tilray's revenues is coming from beverage. And so this is something that I find interesting. Let me hop over here. So if I look at this, it says give you a better understanding what its beverage aligns with other companies out there. So here are the companies that its beverage industry align with. Excuse me. National Beverage, Boston Beer Company, Vita Coco Company, Molson Coors Beverage Company, and it says considered a small to mid-cap company within the global beverage industry. It is smaller than the major players like Molson Coors and National Beverage, but it is in a similar range to other notable beverage companies. So it's not as big as Molson, but it's but it has legs. So if it's not as big as these, but it's similar to these, where should that market value be? Should it be at 1 billion, a billion and a half, just on the beverage industry side? This is where it gets interesting. So I asked the same question about the cannabis section around pharmaceuticals, and it's telling me that based on its market value capitalization, Tilray would be considered a small to mid-cap company within the pharmaceutical and biotech industry, similar size to these companies. And these all have from 2.56 billion market cap up to a 4 billion market cap. So if Tilray's market cap is only at 1.52 billion, that's below the value of similar sized companies in just the pharmaceuticals, and we're not even getting into the beverage side of the industry. And the beverage side of the industry would increase Tilray's market cap. So when you combine the two industries, what they own and the revenues that are being produced, their market cap should actually be quite a bit higher. And that market cap needs to be adjusted for them making adjustments to their business. When they bought out those additional beverage companies and became a holder in the beverage industry, their market cap needed to adjust to reflect the cannabis industry and also the beverage industry. This was a big issue for me. With that being said, if that market cap was readjusted accordingly to capture both the beverage and the cannabis pharmaceutical industry, their stock price then would be rated at a much higher value. And I think that value would probably be more closer to about $5 to $10 in that price range. I could be wrong, but this is just my viewpoint. I don't do fancy math. I'm not, I'm not a financial guru, but I can do basic math. 1 + 1 = 2 to me. And I've seen financial gurus, they sit down, they do their math, and 1 + 1 can equal 3, it can equal 10, it can equal 20. We saw that with the housing, right before the housing collapse, 5-10 years ago. And they were doing funny math. And I see funny math here being done, and it's not adding up to me. It just doesn't add up. So I call BS when I see BS. I can do basic math. If you're rating a company with a market cap, this is their valuation, what they can achieve based off of, for two industries, that either one of those industries would rate that market cap on its own. That market cap should really be double of what it is, the market evaluation. So this doesn't add up. This doesn't appear to be kosher, or someone isn't taking the time to turn around and go, hold on, wait a second. They're a beverage and a pharmaceutical company now. We can no longer just classify them as a cannabis company. And I think people are forgetting what they're holding. At the same token, what else I love about Tilray at this point in time, and I have a little controversy on how they're doing it, but they're paying down their debt. So how they're paying it down is via cash and also stock. So they're swapping out stock to pay off their debt. That can be a good thing because that keeps more cash in the company, It can also be a bad thing because it dilutes out the shareholders at the end of the day. If it's done in a balancing act where it doesn't dilute out shareholders and keeps more revenue within the company, that's a good thing. At the same token, Tilray is sitting on a lot of cash, and that's a good thing. That means that they can stay in business for quite a few years, even without the revenues coming in from the beverage industry side. But with that beverage industry side, and now that they're inside of the EU and inside of Canada, this is a good footholding for them, where now they can start increasing their revenues slowly. With all of this said, this is part of the reason that's cluing me in that their stock value is undervalued, and people are looking at it incorrectly. They have made too many little changes within that company. Now it is a holding company. It's no longer a one-driven pony show where it's just running one race. It's running two separate races and could end up running three separate races. So now it has multiple functional legs, which means that no matter what happens, that company will stay in existence for at least a good 10 years at this point. I cannot predict the future, but I can see that it can sustain with the cash that it has on hand. Then it turns around and has the beverage industry, the revenues coming in off of that, and it's captured a few countries in the EU and then, of course, Canada. So that turns around and tells me it at least has enough revenues, no matter what, to sustain itself and to keep plugging along and moving forward. With that said, that tells me it has a vital life at this point. So with all that being said, I hope for now you're starting to see what I'm seeing a little bit. You may disagree, you may agree, you may not have realized that something's a little bit off with the evaluation. And this is what's driving me a little bit with this company, Tilray. My other big issue with this company, and it still is, it's their investment side. So whoever's handling investor relations, they need to get rid of. And they need to get someone who knows what in the heck they're doing on how to grow Tilray, how to keep the shareholders informed, and how to give information out to the general public so that we understand what's going on with the company. For example, if Tilray turns around and has one of its beverage companies increase sales by $1 million, as a investor, I want to know that. I could care less that they rolled out a new line of products into the marketplace. That doesn't tell me if they're going to make more money or less money. What it just tells me is they developed something, which means they spent more money, and they may make money or they may lose money. But if you tell me how these companies are saving money, which are driving the bottom line, how they're maintaining themselves, and I'm talking about math. I want the dollars. Even $1 plus that someone has saved in the company, that tells me there's an extra dollar floating around. But these are just my opinions. With that said, I won't ramble on anymore. If you like this content, please subscribe. And if you have questions or you would like to say something, leave me a comment. Let's share some information of your thoughts and feelings around Tilray or how you do your investing. Take care for now, and I will see you next time. Bye.